welcome to Northside Now. This is the podcast where we take you on a tour through all of the ministries and the latest happenings of Northside Church. I'm Patrick, and with me, as always, is Glenn Miller and Kevin Bryant. What's going on, guys?
Hey, what's happening?
How are you? Good.
Yeah.
Yep. I just drove in from, I should have used the joke. I just flew in from Nashville, and boy, are my arms tired. No, we went to Nashville for some doctor appointments today, so it's good to be back in town. The rain welcomed us on this day we're recording this, so
you kind of slid in. Yeah.
Well, luckily did not actually slide, but yeah, it was a good trip. We got some good stuff going. So how about you guys?
And it's so appropriate because whenever I talked to your son as y'all were coming back in, I asked him what girl he'd gone to Nashville to sing. And that's kind of what we're going to end up talking about here in a minute. But I thought that was really funny too.
Indeed.
So,
Indeed.
But yeah, no, just, living the dream in the Corona world.
You know it. Well, Glenn, we've got a special episode today, don't we?
We do. We're excited about this.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, we kind of teased it. I think we've been more excited about this than anybody else has. But Valentine's Day is coming up here in just a moment, and so we have the Valentine special. Woo! Yay! So instead of doing something really, really crazy, and getting all kinds of therapists and superstars here and tell us all this, we got the best guests we will ever have on Northside Now here with us tonight, and or today or this morning, whenever you're listening to this. But they're the best guests we'll ever have. So Patrick, I'm going to let you introduce these incredible guests we have today.
Well, I'll introduce the one sitting next to me. With me is my fiance, Elizabeth. Say hi.
Hi, it is great to be here tonight.
And Kevin, who's that over there with you?
I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. No, this is my wife, Lori. We've been married 25 years, going on 26. So we've got a few life experiences to share. I will definitely tell you we are no way experts, but definitely excited to talk a little bit about.
We can definitely use all the help we can get. Let's be honest.
We will take all the advice.
We will try and give what we know. That's about all I can promise.
And Glenn?
Well, we brought Miss Barbie in with us tonight.
Hi, we're glad to be here tonight.
So we are, we've been married for 27 years and we're the empty nesters. And so what's fun is you have Elizabeth and y'all aren't married yet, almost, getting very close. Kevin and Lori have kids still at home and they have the full nest. And, our girls are gone up and we're new grandparents. And so we have the empty nest. So I feel like we've got a really good cross section of experience here. And recently we asked the youth to help us out with this episode. And so we had them make us some questions because we were going to go find some questions for this episode anyways.
We're going to make some up.
Yeah, or just look them up.
Yeah, John Smith from Pittsburgh wants to know.
And so in order to be honest, we got real questions from our youth and they did an incredible job. And these are questions I feel like whether you're dating someone or you've been married for a while or you're about to get married or it is just daily relationship stuff. And these are wonderful.
And I think they're not softball questions either, right?
No.
Some of these are pretty challenging.
Yeah, some of these are more like bowling ball questions. But
no, we've already stopped the podcast 4 times so we could all cry. No, just kidding.
Wait, y'all stopped?
Well, we've had a good time, and so you all know, we had dinner beforehand all together, and shared some time together, and we just had a really good evening this evening. So, Elizabeth and Patrick still have Valentine's Day, and Lori and Kevin and Barbie and I were like, "This was Valentine's Day." I refused to drive in Jackson around that weekend. So
our anniversary also falls on February 15th, so he kind of double dosed himself too.
It was my fault. See, I have this rule where you don't start dating someone on Valentine's Day. So I had to wait till after Valentine's Day. So I literally could only wait a day. But
you would not be a very good writer for a Hallmark movie.
Yeah, probably not.
All right, so that's it. Well, let's jump into this.
All right.
Am I doing this first? Or you
yeah,
doing this first?
I'll throw the first one to you.
All right.
So here's the first question. It says, how do you trust God for the right person?
Well, you have to spend some time on your knees, number one, and you have to really know who you and God are. in order to trust God for the right person. I totally believe. And then you just need to be open to the experience as well. Garth Brooks has the greatest song on the planet called Unanswered Prayers. And that is so
song, yes.
my life. If I had married the girl in 7th grade or 4th grade or 8th grade or 10th and 11th and 12th grade, I would not be sitting next to the most
girls
amazing
have you been
woman.
with, Glenn?
Well, I mean, to me, dating was just for fun. I mean, it was just a blast. But I didn't have those super crazy, ultra serious relationships in high school. It was just dating was fun, and let's have a good time with that. But to trust God, you really got to have that relationship with God, and you're going to hear this word relationship a lot and being with one another, but really that is it. But the Unanswered Prayers song really is a true song for our relationship, because had we not trusted God in our relationship and when it began, because we would have never met, I mean, honestly. And so, I'm from Texas and she's from Tennessee, and we met in Washington, D.C., and we'll probably talk more about that in just a moment. But you have to know who God is in your life, and you have to experience him and you before you can go out entering someone else into that triangle. So do you agree?
I agree. Very much so.
You covered it, Glenn.
That is on. Yeah. That's recorded. She agreed with me, y'all.
Mark this moment down in history, folks.
You edit that part out.
We'll fix it in post.
And let me tell y'all, if y'all are building a house and you agree on something, that's amazing. So I feel like we just accomplished something here.
Definitely.
It's been a breakthrough.
But no, I think you're totally right. I think you have to develop that relationship with God, and, you have to trust him with every aspect of your life, not just the relationship. And once you can learn to trust him in other things, it makes it a lot easier to trust him in that as well. So
one of the things I heard in a sermon, I can't even remember how long ago or where it was, but the pastor said you should be seeking the one while you're searching for the two, or something like that, in a triangle. If you think of one and being the pinnacle, the top, and that'd be God, and then two is your spouse on the other side. And so if you're seeking God in whatever you're doing, then he's going to present you with your two.
Yeah.
Or the other side of the triangle there. Mm-hmm.
And as you grow closer to God, the gap between the two of you, individually, the gap between the two of you closes. And I've seen the very same thing. Yeah. And it really means a lot. That has meant a lot to me. And I've used that as a teaching tool all these years with youth to help them understand. That's a really great example. All right. So Kevin and Lori, how do you know they are the one? How do you know they are the one?
Lori, your question.
So the short and simple is that we were friends for quite a while before we started dating. Ironically, there's a whole backstory that I think God put into place. Our moms were both delivered by the same doctor in 2 different countries.
What?
Yeah. Wow. My mom here
doesn't happen every
in
day.
the States, and his mom in Africa, because her parents were missionaries. I knew his cousins growing up, church camp. I actually have a picture of him from church camp when I was a senior and he was a sophomore, and he's hanging out with my cousins. And then, of course, we met in college. But I actually went and studied in Ecuador for a semester, and there was actually a guy who was interested in me before I left, but I just didn't feel right about it. And I realized while I was gone that I missed him. I missed his friendship, and I actually had to break the heart of this guy when I was coming back, because he was going to fly in to see me, and I was like, I can't do this. So
Kevin,
that's kind of but I think it's that trusting in God and waiting. It's not a rush thing. You can't just rush into it and decide that, oh, this is the one, I know it is, because it took us a while.
I think the thing that I remember about our relationship before we got married is I didn't know that she was the one. Even after we had been dating for a while and there were obviously feelings there, I can get in my head a lot. And I didn't know. Mm-hmm. But I think I grew up in this era where you see the movies, the TV show where they almost fall in love before they've even met, that kind of thing. And the expectation is, there's going to be this moment where, you just know they're the one.
Your eyes meet across the room.
That's exactly right.
Love at first sight.
For us, I understand some people do experience that, right? But for us, it was not that, because we started out as friends, and that was something that God developed between us. But the one thing that I kind of point back to is my aunt and uncle were pastors at the time. And I think in determining whether you believe they're the one or not, you should seek counsel. I think this is biblical, where if you have an argument with someone in the church, you're supposed to try and go and figure it out between the two of you, and then bring another a person to help you witness, and then get clergy involved, that kind of thing. I just was thinking about that process. And so I just asked them, how do you know when they're the one, or when you should marry someone? And I don't know that it was earth-shattering advice, but they told me, they said, when you can't imagine your future life, whether it be just the big milestones you want to see in your life, if you can't imagine that happening without this person by your side, that's an indication. And if you've been praying, if you've been seeking wisdom, that's an indication that if you want to call them the one, that's someone that God selected for you. So that's what it's been in our relationship.
Part of my personal philosophy, and we'll see if this pays off or not, but well, a lot of knowing if they're the right one, I don't know. Love is a choice in a lot of ways, and it's something you have to work at. And it's, some days you wake up and you don't want to see that person, but
I can be very difficult to have in your life.
Hey, totally worth it though. Totally worth it. The good definitely outweighs the bad. So, but yeah, love is a choice, and it's something you have to wake up and you choose and you work at. And, it's not just that lust, that chemical reaction for the first, however, eventually that wears off, and you're stuck with this person that,
I love the terms "stuck with." I'm feeling so loved.
I'm gonna pass this off. No, I guess the next question's coming to us. So.
This question is really appropriate with it coming up to Valentine's Day. So here's the question: what is the best thing to get your girlfriend?
The best thing to get your girlfriend is whatever she asks for.
Okay. I'm going to take this, because sometimes I feel like, guys, you're just not listening. If your girlfriend or wife or whoever is someone that appreciates presents, and you should know at this point if they are, and if not, ask. Have an open conversation about, hey, are we doing presents? Because Kevin and Lori, I think you've talked about, y'all are not gift people.
No.
Okay.
No.
Perfectly fine to not do presents. If you are a gift person, or you are dating or married to a gift person, that person will drop all the hints. You just have to listen. When they are scrolling through Pinterest and they click on something and go, ooh, that's cute, all you have to say is, ooh, what is it?
Oh, trust me. I keep guys, this is a life hack. Keep a running list of anything she says just offhandedly. Oh, that's cool. Or I like that. I just keep a list. And so when I need to buy something, I just go back to that list, and it's all right there.
Listen, she's not on Pinterest. She's not scrolling through Amazon. Maybe she doesn't have an addiction like I do. Take her to Target. Just stroll through Target. Every girl loves it. First of all, that can be a great date night.
Hey,
nobody's turning down Target.
Guys like Target too.
Okay, and then
I was going to say,
yeah, we do.
And just anything that she's drawn to, and she's looking at it, and is that something you like, and you don't buy it right there? Don't do it. Don't buy it in front of her. Still surprise her. Let her think that you just passively didn't see it, and then go back and get it. And she's like, oh my goodness, that was so thoughtful.
You were really listening to me.
You were listening. You picked this out. She may have even forgot she said she liked it.
You just surreptitiously take pictures of things.
Patrick randomly will just say, oh, just send me the link to that. He asks me that so often that I have no clue what I'm ever getting. I just know he has a list of things that I like.
There was one time we were sitting, this was pre-COVID, because we were sitting in Starbucks, and there was a girl sitting at the bar who was coloring with these Sharpies, and had this cool stand that all her Sharpies went in. She goes, wow, that's really cool. I like that. So when we were leaving, I just surreptitiously took a picture with my phone, and guess what she got for her birthday?
Well, this is really good advice, because I think there's a lot of pressure around Valentine's Day. Yeah. It is the holiday of love. And as a guy, I totally understand this question.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Because especially, let's just say it's the first Valentine's Day when you've been dating. there's a lot of pressure there.
Well, and especially now, whenever, asking someone to the prom is like a major motion picture and getting married.
It's bigger than engagements.
That's right.
And everything has to build on itself. And it's, oh my goodness, there is a lot of pressure. And I think there's a lot of pressure for the girls too. I think it's a two-way street in a lot of ways. So, but Elizabeth, you're right. Listening is so important.
I have a list.
Yeah.
I have a list of your stuff in my notes page on my phone.
And it's expensive, right?
Sometimes.
But
Well, guys, look, if she's more interested in the gift than in you, drop her. You don't have time for those games.
Well, I will say our daughter Celeste and our son-in-law Jake, Celeste always talked about Christmas tree farms and stuff like that. Well, he asked her they got engaged at a Christmas tree farm. Perfect example of just listening. He gave her a diamond ring, but
That helps too.
But that is listening is an important skill
And I
in
think
gift giving.
I think part of it is the love languages. So Kevin and I both pretty much words of affirmation, spending time together. We have quite a bit of time yet till our kids leave the nest, so to speak. But we can't wait to spend time together again because we enjoy doing that, whether it's doing something or traveling or whatever. Not that we get to do that, but I think that's part of it is obviously if you are a gift giver, like we have one in our family that is definitely a gift giver and it's wearing and she will get on you if she doesn't think you're getting enough, like me, if I'm not getting enough for him or because we don't buy gifts. So I think knowing those love languages, words of encouragement, quality time, physical touch, acts of service, and gifts can help with what that gift looks like too.
And you're talking about something that's so important. And y'all are, Patrick and Elizabeth, y'all are about to start this journey. And y'all are, like you said, y'all are right here too. At the end, liking each other is still an important thing. And that was one of our blessings is when the house emptied out. We were like, it did take, I'm not going to lie, it did take a moment to, have some reconnection. But we're like, I do like you, so so that is important. You do have to remember that.
And that's one thing that we've kind of laughed about, but because at first Glenn would say, we're about to have all this time. And I'm going, but the kids are going to be gone. But we like to spend time together and just knowing your wife, knowing your husband, knowing what they like is what that gift is going to look like. I mean, sometimes it's just, we want to grill something out because neither one of us like to go out on Valentine's Day because it's busy and it's crowded and
It's more hassle than it's worth.
the few times we have, it's just crazy. And so let's just grill something. Let's just do something at home and watch a movie or whatever. But,
I think that's such a great thing though, is to remember that not all presents come from the store.
right.
And that is yet again, knowing your partner, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your spouse, knowing who you're spending time with, knowing them well enough, listening, to what do they want to do. If all they want for Valentine's Day is a nice night out, then make that happen. If they want a special present, make that happen. It's a part of knowing who you're in that relationship with and not just what you would want, but knowing what they want.
Yeah, and I think that just speaking from one clueless guy to many other clueless guys too, you may just have to ask, be upfront because listening is key, like you said, but some of us didn't really learn how to listen very well. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying I'm that guy, but I have been that guy.
Yeah.
And you might just need to be direct. If someone is expecting you to read their mind, that's not, in my mind, a healthy relationship.
Yeah, you're right.
No.
Right.
Except for just don't ask them where you want to eat.
Oh yeah, that's a horrible question.
It's like the world's
Number
worst
one
question
fight.
on the planet.
Let's be honest. They don't know what they want, but they know what they don't want.
Hey,
Ask what you don't want.
and Barbie hates, I don't care. That's the worst answer I can give her. I don't care. Well, so yeah.
I need to give me options. Actually, I think
It's funny.
I started this with somebody, and I think it was a friend in college or something like that. And we started a 3-2-1. And so it was like, okay, give me 3 options. So then I kind of know, what you're feeling. I kind of know budget, what we're talking about. And it's like, okay, then I'll take one away and you have to make the final decision.
Yeah.
So it's like 3, 2, 1. I'll take 1 or 2. I may just tell you out of the 3 which one we're going to, but there you go.
All right, Glenn, here's another one to you.
All right, here we go.
Are there any funny moments in your marriage?
Oh my gosh, y'all
my
are so
goodness.
serious all the
I mean,
time.
I
Please
can't
tell us there
imagine.
are.
Well, there's so many. I cannot. But when Barbie and I got married, we got married here in Deanburg, Tennessee.
Yeah, I know where that is.
At the Pleasant Springs United Methodist Church, and we jumped in a car. We went to Texas immediately to a camp out that our church was having there that I was already serving in. And for the next, this is back when they had, June, July, and August summers.
Yeah, right.
And for the next 6 weeks, we came home just long enough to change clothes, wash clothes, stuff like that. So we were at a camp, I think, towards the end of August. And Barbie comes up and she's just in tears. I'm like, what is wrong? Because she wanted to go experience youth ministry. She's like, all right, I know what I'm getting into, but I want to experience it. And she's just like, I still have wedding presents I haven't. I want to see my house. I want to do it. I was like, okay. And so
Great start.
I want to go to the grocery store.
so that is, we laugh now, but I was like, I get it. I totally understand it. And oh goodness, we could go on forever and ever and ever. It's endless, but we think that's hilarious to us because it's just,
It's so funny now.
it's funny now, and it's just been what it is for ever since. It's just been what it is. So we kind of giggle about that.
We have only celebrated our anniversary on our anniversary once.
Yeah.
Because we got married during annual conference, and then we moved here and it was youth musical every year. So the joke is we don't celebrate our anniversary on our anniversary.
As long as, it's still working. Obviously, that works for you guys. You're also still in youth ministry, so
Yeah.
she hasn't completely and totally ran away from it.
But I can tell y'all so many. Like that one time I sat in a pew and I thought I was sitting up next to her and it was not her. The lady kept trying to hit me and I was like, why are you hitting me?
I see a constant theme here.
Yeah.
It's like these are not really funny circumstances, but you figure out how to laugh about them later.
Exactly.
Later, yeah.
And I think,
Exactly.
you know what? In all honesty, I think that's how it is. One of the things I just came to mind was our honeymoon was basically coming from the wedding in Indiana down to Tennessee for basically a week, and then we had to make our way back to Indiana because Lori's sister was getting married in 2 weeks. So my in-laws had 2 weddings in
back-to-back
2
weddings.
weeks.
Oh, wow.
But
Those are brave people.
the joke I always bring up is that we got lost. And who was in charge of the map?
I was.
And that's been a running joke for
Yeah.
us for 25 years. Not really funny at the time because, kind of stressful. You're lost and you just got married and it's just...
Whoa. If we didn't just get lost, it's dark. And it's windy roads. It's in southern Indiana.
Yes.
It was scary.
Well, and
and of course, no GPS.
Yeah, I was going to ask this
Nope,
on
this
behalf
is
of
a
all
map.
our younger listeners.
map.
What is a map?
Yeah,
Can you explain that first? I know there's a lot of
I
people
think I
out
saw
there.
one time in a history book, maybe.
It's
Kevin-
framed in a museum.
I didn't know you
Actually-
married Siri. Is that Siri over there?
We actually got bona fide maps when we stopped at the Welcome Center in Tennessee a couple weeks ago when we were on our way back through.
They still
from
make
Virginia.
those?
They still make them.
Now it's like, that's a souvenir right there. You hold on to the map. You never have to unwrap it and try and get it back into that little fold that nobody knows how to do.
Oh, no, we just shoved the road atlas under the seat of the car.
There you go. Yeah, folded it and just shoved it.
I think the biggest thing, and Kevin kind of said it too, the goal isn't to always, it can't be that you're always going to be happy. There's going to be a lot of stress and a lot of things that come up that you have to deal with. So can you look at it from a positive side? Can you, even if it's 2 days later or 10 days later? And I think this kind of goes along with the whole, I don't want to say don't go to bed, obviously not angry, but sometimes you can't express everything before it's time to go to bed for whatever reason. So can you get yourself to a point so that you can look at it from a perspective that I love him, not sure what happened, we'll get it worked out. And obviously when you throw kids in the mix,
Yeah.
it happens all the time. One of you is like holding toothpicks in your eyes, like, yeah. And while the other one is falling asleep.
And I think the thing there is always come back to it.
Yeah.
Don't ever
Yes.
let it just sit.
Don't leave things unsaid.
Right.
Don't sweep things under the rug. I cannot stand for
Yeah.
things to be swept under the rug, and let's just forget about them and pretend they don't happen. I definitely had a lot of experience with that growing up, and that was one of the things coming into our relationship that we're not going to do that. I don't care what it takes. We're going to work it out. We're going to talk through it. And Patrick, I am.
There's some things I got to tell you about.
Close your
later.
mouth. And
Yes, that was an assault you heard. That was.
I've been physically assaulted.
that was a love pat, as my grandmother would call it. But I'm definitely marrying the comedic relief. So for me, it's hard to not find laughter in everything that we do. He is the person that when I want to be angry and upset, that he always makes me laugh. So I don't really get a choice to not laugh.
I don't
in
know
our
if I
marriage.
always make you laugh, but I always try.
Sometimes you get a very grimaced look.
And that's the thing, is to try to find the humor in the fact that the dog just messed all over the carpet, or the child just messed all over the carpet.
Hey, as long as there's not a Roomba involved as well, you're good.
Yeah, well, or that the Roomba is involved. I mean, that's the thing, is when the funny moments come from just life and just enjoying those. And all right, Kevin and Lori. Well, this just keeps going along with the same theme, but what's the best part about being in a relationship? What's the best part about being in a relationship?
Of all the parts, what is the best?
Well, this relationship that I'm thinking about is a marriage relationship, a boyfriend, girlfriend. I think the best part of it was once we were, and my views of dating maybe are a little bit different. I think it should be enjoyable and fun, but my focus on that was really trying to find a life partner. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't just having fun.
Yeah, it's like a glorified job interview.
Exactly.
He tells me that often, and I am still in the interview process.
You passed.
Hey,
apparently,
well, until we say I do.
June
I don't know. There's still that
26th.
escape clause. I don't know. Knock on wood.
I don't even remember. What was the question again?
What's the best part about being in a relationship?
The best part, I think, for me is, is the fitting together of those of those qualities that one of you might have and the other might not.
Yeah.
The most content is when I am doing something together with her and we're working as a team. It could be dealing with a kid's tantrum, or it could have been solving the navigation problem in the, from the wedding. It could be finding out where we fit in ministry together. It's been amazing to me to see where my weaknesses are, and this wasn't necessarily always the case.
Sure.
But as you get to know someone, and this happens in friendship too. This is a really special friendship, but when you have a weakness, that they can kind of grow to fill in that weakness, and vice versa. That to me is what is the most satisfying part of marriage. And I don't think that's a mistake. I think that God does that on purpose to fulfill our lives and to make them productive. And so that to me is and there's other things, right? So, having a romantic evening, those kinds of things are fun too. But the most gratifying is that for me.
Yeah. I think, when what you're saying just made me go right straight to the Garden of Eden. Mm-hmm. And when God created Adam, and then he said, you need a helper. You need a partner. You need a friend. You need someone else. And that's when, Eve was created, and they're the complement. They're just so complementary. And I think the best part about being in a relationship for me is when the complement works. Mm-hmm. And like you say, it's not 24/7, 365. But we always reference movies and stuff. Christmas with the Cranks, when, Luther's sitting out there and he's looking into the picture and his family and everything's going. So you just see the picture and you're kind of step back from it and you go like, okay, I get it now. It works. And for me, that's kind of just goes about what you're saying. And that's what makes it so good.
I was going to say, we are a team. Mm-hmm. I think I credit this to Becky Carey way back when we first got married and we're newlyweds. Come here. I'm 450 some miles away from home. Thought I would be in Tennessee for 2 years. Yeah.
Plus some.
And she said, would you two be willing to help start a children's Christmas musical? Sure. And that just, I mean, it, in a sense, it created time that we had to spend together. It wasn't an option because this was something we were going to do. And of course it involved Patrick's mom.
Yeah.
And many others
Don't
too.
hold it against me.
No. But over the years, I know that has helped solidify our marriages because we intentionally from the beginning spent time together. And I think that's where a lot of times I see relationships when they're shaky or they even break apart is, you can say to them, well, how much time do you really spend together? And I'm not talking about staring at your phones or looking at the TV. I'm talking spending time together, whatever that looks like for you. And I think that's key. And our kids, we tell that to them all the time. You can't expect a relationship of any type to work, whether it's just a friendship or whatever, if you don't.
And I just kind of modify that a little bit. For Elizabeth and Patrick, I mean, you're not married yet. You're definitely on the road there and very close. But what's been the most important part of your maybe your dating relationship? What have you seen that for you two? What's the most important part that you need to have in your dating relationship? Is it any different?
Well, I'll speak first, but he may
She usually does.
he may completely and totally disagree. For me, I suffer with a lot of anxiety issues, and I mean, it can be very overwhelming at times. And the beginning of our relationship was actually really stressful. I was going through about a job change and I was entering in a new relationship with him and trying to navigate what that looks like. Also, my family is 550 miles away from me. And at the same time, I was also moving and having to not only just, uproot my life, I was actually moving in with his grandmother because of just the way things that had worked out and everything like that. So I was kind of giving up some of my independence, also very uneasy about what was coming in the future. And so for him to be able to stop and listen long enough to figure out like what triggers my anxiety and how to work with that and how to calm me down, because the worst thing that you can say to a person with anxiety is calm down. And he learned that very quickly. And so it took a lot of just him being the person that would listen even when I was not making any sense at all, and even when I was like having a complete and total meltdown, but he would stop and listen and he would let me get it all out, and then he'd be like, okay, are you ready to talk about it? And it wasn't necessarily that he understood anxiety, which has helped me a lot with my anxiety, because I've had to learn how to explain it to him and explain how my mind is working, and that like, I know this doesn't make sense. As it's coming out of my mouth, I understand this is not making sense, but this is what my brain is doing and none of it is logical. And he took that and he understood it and he has worked with it.
It's definitely been a learning process though. She's making it sound a lot easier than it was, but,
but I think that's one of the reasons that we work as well as we do together is because, and so now that we are planning a wedding, he has taken even more of that. And like, I hate to make phone calls. I abhor the telephone. I cold call people as part of my job and I still don't like the telephone. And so like, looking for a wedding cake, he made all of the phone calls, looking for somebody who could do our wedding cake.
That's been a process. So. But hey, you know what? We found a cake person. If you need a cake person, let me know. I got the details.
We have got a great cake person now, but he was the one he made all of the phone calls. He called, bakeries and he set up appointments and, he was the one talking to everybody.
And hey, it's won me a lot of good brownie points with these people because they're like, wow, you're, most of the time the groom groom's not involved as
That's
much.
right.
So it's like it's winning me some points that way too.
That's right.
But part of her anxiety and learning to deal with that and all, it was a learning process for me because I am very much a fixer. And so she would, when we first started dating, she would bring these problems to me and be like, all right, well, here's how we fix that. You know, this is the solution. I don't know why this is so hard. And it took me a long time to learn how to listen to what she was saying and not just while she's talking, formulate what I'm going to say next, because that's not listening. But really to hear what she was saying and learning her, and just, you know, that's part of the relationship, is just learning how to compliment the other person. And yeah, it's harder than it sounds, but
Well, I think the last thing I'll say on that is that if you get the opportunity and the blessing to be with someone for a long time in a marriage relationship, I think that you will find, at least I've found this to be true, that you actually find true joy in serving someone else. And I believe that's what God intended for marriage, is that the two become one. And if a dating relationship is with the goal of finding that person, that I think that's the way God intended it.
Yeah, you used a key word right there, serving. Man, that's a really good way in a relationship, is serving. One of my favorite things that Pastor Don does here is takes that stole off and ties those hands and talks about that right there at that moment. It's such a key part of that. But that's a great word there for sure.
And another thing is find someone who makes you want to be a better version of yourself.
Absolutely.
Not change yourself. Don't change yourself for someone, but makes you want to strive to be a better version of yourself.
be the best version of yourself.
Make me want to be a better man.
Yeah.
Movie
Sure.
quotes.
Yeah. I'm sure somebody wrote a song about that once too. Yeah.
We will put out all of the movie and
References.
and all of the song references. And this is actually a hidden Easter egg hunt. You have to go through and try and find them all.
See, my problem is I speak like 80% of my vocabulary is movie references. So I really have to like work to not do that. All right, Barbie, this one's to you.
Okay, I'm ready.
And it is definitely my favorite question that was asked.
No, I'm scared.
So here we go. And I quote, "Do you have to put up with the man?"
And this was written by our youth.
But like,
so
but no, the question is,
it?
but do you have to put up with the man though?
If you feel that you have to put up with the man, you've got the wrong man.
So what she's saying is that she doesn't feel like it is putting up with Glenn. For those of you who are in the youth group and
I
want to
get
know
to
that
share
answer.
life with Glenn.
Yes. That's good. Yeah. You're a strong, independent woman. You don't need no man.
If you have to put up with the man or put up with the woman, either one, you're.
Not the question.
I know.
That's not the question, though.
I think there's a question coming somewhere about some red flags.
I think it would be more appropriately of learning to work with the person that you're with. And if it does feel like, I think Barbie is exactly right on that one. If it feels like a chore, then it's probably not the one that you need to be with. I've said this often. There's work involved in a relationship, but it should never be forced. And if you feel
you're
like
right. That's
you
good
are
stuff.
absolutely having to force this relationship, and you're dreading the next hour that you're going to spend with them, or you feel like you're having to put up with, then it's probably not the right relationship, and we should start looking in other direction.
I think one of the things that I've thought through when we hear these questions, I think about how so many times I see in our culture, whether it's movies and music and just everything that makes up what it is to be an American, it's all about go, do, rush. And to me, the worst things that happen is when we rush into relationships because either we need to feel loved, or there's so many reasons why we do that, right?
Yeah.
And especially for those in dating relationships, there's so much pressure to do this, that, the other thing, and be this, or, meet that ideal, all that kind of thing. My advice is you need to take it slow.
Yeah.
You need to let God work in the timing to see if it's the right thing. I would never encourage anybody to rush into relationships, especially like you said, Patrick, there is definitely the period at the beginning of most all dating relationships where there's chemical, emotional feelings involved, right? I mean, that's pretty
Oh yeah,
much-
that's science right there.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
You actually your brain releases endorphins.
Totally
and
right.
so-
And real relationships that last go beyond that.
Yeah.
You know,
I think people have to realize that, well, I think most people get into relationships, for themselves. What can this person do for me? What can I get out of this relationship? How can this help me? And I think relationships that last have that switch where it starts becoming, how can I help this other person? What can I do for them? How can I be there for them? And I think that's a key point, and that it's not about you all the time. It's not 100% about you. It's 100% about the other person. It's a partnership.
Yeah. Again, it goes back to that word serving. Mm-hmm. And there's been something in our culture that we've lost in this culture that I wish we kind of did get back. And it's because exactly something of what you're talking about, Kevin, is that we feel like we're in such a hurry. We're in such a hurry to grow up. We're wearing makeup early. We want to start,
I won't tell you how early I started wearing makeup. It's been,
I think I know the answer to that.
But we really are in a hurry. So in our dating relationships, those start looking like marriages. And dating should be more characterized by hanging out with friends and kind of getting to know each other, building a relationship that's based on friendship and all that. But the thing we're missing is that courting. That's when you start getting together with that one person and you start making, y'all are still courting you fiancés over here. And that's, you move to that thing. We've tried to streamline everything. And I think that's really tough in a dating world. And what happens so often is that just stays in that marriage relationship. And there's probably some married people that still aren't courting, and they need to have that very specific, very, very structured time of growing together. So,
well, and I think, and one thing is also remembering that dating should never stop. And I know as an unmarried person, that's, easy to say now, but, it's,
hey, we've got all the answers.
And just wait.
I know. But it goes back to those love languages that we talked about. Dating is not always a dinner out or a gift. Sometimes dating is simply sitting down together and just having conversation. Sometimes dating is being alone for 20 minutes if possible. It's that matter of like having even a conversation even right before bed when you're, just anything, that process of still making each other a priority. And so, I know Lori and Kevin have a house full of children. And so it is very difficult, to just get even 10 minutes alone, but making it a priority. Obviously, you two are doing something right. And so just making each other a priority, even when the world is chaotic, and to make sure that dating never does end. And I hope that that's something that Patrick and I can definitely take into our marriage, of remembering that, so that, we can keep on
Keeping on.
something like that.
And sometimes dating is meeting you at the door when you get home with a pink fishing pole and saying, get in the truck, because he knows I've had a long day and I've got paperwork to do, but it's sunny outside and I need an hour away to reset because it's been stressful. And
sometimes it's just because you want to go fishing. I never said that.
No, not at all.
Cut that, Patrick. Cut
Glenn never
I knew
wants
that.
to just go fishing. But having that person in your life who does make you do those things, because I know that, Barbie and I definitely being in the teaching world, and Lori being in the homeschooling world, like, you tend to put all of that first, and I got to get this done, and this has to be done, and all of this needs to be done, and I need to have everything complete, and for this kid or this kid or this kid. And, having that person who will just look at you sometimes and go, it can wait an hour, just breathe.
Yeah. And this just brings up, and Lori, I'm going to let you answer this because you took a deep breath but this right here, this question is for y'all, and it is in this stream right here.
Alrighty.
And so, did you ever get her a pink fishing pole, by the way?
Nope, they're all blue.
All right.
Okay,
good.
I'm just
All right,
going to
that's good.
say that I had a really bad experience when I was little, and my great grandfather tried to force me to put a worm on a hook.
Oh, not the worm.
Yeah.
Not the worm on the hook thing.
No.
All right. So, what do you do to spend time with each other, even when you are really busy? And so like I said, this isn't the same stream right here. So let's catch this fish in the same stream. What do you do to spend time with each other, even when you are really busy? I mean, are you ever really busy?
All the time.
This is the first time I've actually seen her today.
I
so
understand. So there you go.
Well, actually, I was going to say it was kind of cool. We've been trying on Wednesdays and Sunday nights to at least have a little bit of time because the kids are all in youth that are home. But that's not worked so well the last few weeks because we've just had different issues with different kids, and that's fine. And so it's true, Elizabeth. Sometimes it's 10 minutes before we go to bed, or it's even I say, I got to talk to you before supper, and we'll go in quickly while whoever else is helping finish supper. Honestly, this is probably the longest we've spent together alone, and I don't know how long, but I think it is intentional. You have to be intentional. It's easier now that we've moved back because we have his parents that are nearby, and they're part of our respite care, as we call it. And that's because of the uniqueness of our family. We can't just call up somebody to have them come over. And so I guess maybe I'm kind of following a rabbit trail here, but I think the key is that as long as both of you are honest and you express, I really need time with you. And I don't mean 10 minutes. I mean, like, we need a couple of hours just to be. He loves action movies. I don't. So that's not really something. And I've tried. I promise you I have. And I can't do it. I dream it all night long. And it's just how I am. But again, I don't think we'd have made it this far if we weren't honest with each other and just said, I've just got to talk to you. I've got to, even if all the kids are doing whatever. And sometimes we even have to lock our bedroom door just so that we can talk and not be bothered. And that's not true because they knock. But
yeah, I think
Would like for it to be true.
I think this happens for anyone. Yep. Whether you're married, whether you're dating, whatever. I mean, we all have busy lives, right?
Totally.
I mean, that is what we do as Americans. I mean, people all over the world do, but I think in a lot of other places in the world, they value rest.
Yeah.
They value breaks. I mean, for those countries that have siestas every day, that's built into their culture.
I'm moving there one day.
I'm with you. But I think that if you agree, like Lori said, if you agree that, it's going to be busy and we're not going to have time together, and that's okay, but we will at this point, or we'll make a commitment to do something at that point. And it really does depend on the relationships too.
Yeah.
Because if a love language is spending quality time together, that's got to be a priority because those needs are not going to be met. For us, that is definitely it, but it's not the only love language. So there's other ways that we can speak to each other and find that connection. But it's a reality that every couple is going to face. Mm-hmm. If you have kids, there's going to be a time where you're both completely exhausted and you don't really want to spend time with each other. You just want to sleep.
Yeah.
So
just let
That
me
is
sleep.
quality time, you
Yeah.
guys. Sleeping
So
is quality time.
There's always that to deal with, but it is important not to neglect it, but understand that there will be those times when you just can't.
Yeah. And for me, I grew up in my dad being a preacher, I grew up in the sense where preachers were always available. They were always, no matter what. And I grew up with that old Puritan work ethic, and that really seated in me. I'm the firstborn in the family. I'm the only boy in the entire family. So I'm a workaholic. It took me forever to admit that, but I am. But I also have deep inside me that old church work ethic of you're always there, you're always doing. And so thank goodness I'm married and partnered with a person who's not jealous, but then she would also look at me and go, enough's enough. And she was also honest about that. So Barbie was really good about that. As I've gotten older, as the girls got older, one of the tips that helped me so much was someone said, you've got to schedule your times better and schedule time. And at first, it sounds like, I got to schedule time. You even hear, you're going to schedule time for me? That's really horrible. No, that's really a good suggestion if that's who you are, or if you're really, really, really busy. I mean, I have to schedule time to work out, right? Have to schedule time to So at one point, I had my entire schedule, even to the point of like, it's time to go to the bathroom, but almost like you would for a small kid or a small child. But that really worked. And I know for a lot of people, me being one of them, Corona, the COVID pandemic, this has been a tough year because being with people, even though I need my time when I just don't need any people near me, including her, but
That's okay.
because I'm around them all the time. And that's where I want to be. That's where I'm happy. That's where I feel like I'm serving. When you're busy, you have to carve out. And Barbie and I didn't go on our first date. Really, I mean, we went to the movies when we were engaged. I mean, she was here in Tennessee and I was in Texas. Long distance phone calls were extremely expensive. Mm-hmm. We wrote letters back and forth to each other. It's how we got to know each other.
And now for our younger listeners, can you explain letters and long distance phone calls?
Well, they used to take trees and smash them down into paper.
And stamps only cost about what, 22 cents?
I know.
Or something like that.
But I mean, literally, we would have monthly phone bills of $400.
Yikes.
And my parents lost their mind when that happened one time. There was no FaceTime. There was no Facebook. You couldn't see. There was none of that.
Oh, the dark ages.
Oh, it was. But it forced us to get to know each other. And so our whole relationship is built on that solid ground, that house being built on that solid of just knowing each other, communication and stuff long before we had the time to be together. And it's really kind of funny is because over the last few years, I've been the one like, we never did go to prom together. We didn't go like to pasture parties with our friends. We had none of that dating stuff really so much that a lot of people do. And so we may have to do some of that now. I don't know, but
I am not going to a pasture party.
You stand your ground.
Go to a prom, Barbie. There you go. You can go to a prom.
I'm not even sure what a pasture party is, so we'll
I
just
know
kind of move
exactly
on.
what those are. I come from the backwoods right there.
Like tipping cows.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, here's a next question that kind of goes along with this, but just switching gears a little bit. And this is going back to the how do you know when it's right kind of thing. But this is a little bit different. So, Elizabeth and Patrick, before you met properly, so did you admire each other from a distance?
Glenn, did I admire Patrick from a distance?
I wouldn't say it was that far away.
well, she was, yes. The answer is yes. Most undeniable. What do they say? Undeniably, undisputable. Yes.
Indubitably.
Indubitably.
Backstory for those who are listening. Glenn recruited me to work as one of his youth interns at the church. And I tried for about 5 years to convince Patrick to date me. And he finally decided that was going to be a good idea, I guess. And so here we are. So I don't know how much admiring he was doing, but I was definitely admiring.
Weird
Well,
stuff.
I will say, I do remember the first time I saw you when Glenn brought you in.
He did remember what I was wearing. I asked him one time.
What?
Because she thought that I wasn't paying attention.
That's
Wow.
impressive.
It is.
That is.
Very impressive.
I noticed things.
So he apparently did admire from afar, if he can remember what I was wearing. I'd forgotten that you told me that. 'Cause
But
it
again,
was the green
it
sweater,
wasn't necessarily that far.
Yeah.
Well, I will.
She went with the proximity method. She was like, as long as I stay close enough, he'll just keep seeing me. And I just,
Right
every time I
at
turn
the
around,
sound
oh, there
booth.
she is. How can I forget?
Right at the sound booth. Oh, hey. Hi.
I will admit.
But hey,
that-
guys, it worked.
Yes, it's
Stalking works, apparently.
I will agree to that a little bit as well. I was very clueless for a
Yes.
long time, and I was into my little world.
Yeah.
Honestly,
At 6'4".
and I couldn't really
His
see
head
her
was in the
because she
clouds.
was. I was so tall. She was so far below me. No, wait, that didn't come out right. But it was one of those things where over time and her patience and persistence, but not really that, just waiting, right, for the right time. She didn't give up on that, and I'm so thankful that she didn't. But the beginning, I didn't have a clue, honestly.
Well, I'll also say, I wasn't entirely clueless. I had some things, my own issues that I was trying to work through, and I had to get to a point. If I had started dating Elizabeth when she first showed up, we probably wouldn't still be together, because I had to do a lot of work on myself and get to a point where I was ready to look for that person to spend the rest of my life.
I had to do a lot of growing up, even in myself as well. And
We're still working on it.
We are, and it's a process. And a lot of that goes back, I talked about the anxiety, and a lot of that goes back to that anxiety and how to deal with that and how to not let it control my life, and for me to have control over it. And so to be able to go from the beginning and work on that, if we had started dating right when we met, I don't think that we would have worked out, because we wouldn't have been the people that we are today.
I think it all worked out in God's timing.
Right. And we kind of did that too. Don't feel bad, Elizabeth. Glenn followed me all the way around Washington, D.C.
I did
Every
not
time
stalk him.
wherever our group was, I turned around and there he was.
I didn't stalk him in another city, okay?
It's because I noticed she was wearing a very beautiful flowery dress when I first saw her, and then she had a Southern accent, and that
just sealed the deal.
Tell him with the accent.
Hey, just a quick disclaimer: don't stalk people, folks. That's not cool. Nobody wants that.
Not condoning stalking.
No, we are not. No, we are not.
Plus, she was the first real true Barbie I ever met.
Whew.
Yeah,
That was some good stuff.
that was some good stuff.
Yeah, that was really good.
But you know what? What's even better than that?
What's coming up next week?
We've got part 2 next week, so stay tuned. If you found any of that helpful, which I know I did, I've got a few notes here that I'm going to go look up some materials and things. Stick with it. Tell your friends and have them tune in.
Thanks for sticking with us this far.
Yeah, and if you didn't hear a question or an answer that you were expecting or didn't think you heard, definitely listen next week, because it's coming. It's coming. I don't know of any topic that we don't cover.
We try to cover all the bases.
So stay with us and hang out with us, because it is definitely what is happening at Northside now.